Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the RNHA Florida Tele-Town Hall with the Florida Citizens Alliance. My name is Barbara Casanova, and I am the National Secretary of the RNHA, as well as the Florida Chair. I'm very happy to introduce Valerie Wirtz this evening, who is Director of Philanthropy at Florida Citizens Alliance, and she'll speak to us about some of their initiatives and programs and how we can help them in their goal to improve education in the state of Florida for our children. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Teletown Hall today with the Florida Citizens Alliance. I'm Barbara Casanova, and I'm National Secretary of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, and I'm also Chair of the Florida chapter. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here today, and our guest speaker, Valerie Wirtz. She is the Director of Philanthropy and Program Development at Florida Citizens Alliance. One of my missions, particularly here in Florida, is to collaborate with other organizations. And Florida Citizens Alliance is doing amazing things in the state in regards to education for our children in areas of developing new school opportunities and lobbying and following legislation for us here. So I wanted to share a little bit about the organization with our members. So thank you very much for joining. I think you'll find this very informative. Valerie, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to further collaboration with you on these important family education and parental rights issues here in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Having me on. And I just have to say, what a great partnership this is to be able to grab a group of like-minded individuals and be able to grow our efforts in growing education and advocacy throughout our state. I think a lot of times people forget that it is all the grassroots that's really setting our policies here in Florida. And we have it pretty easy. We have really great governor and we have a super majority, and we're sitting here and we're in this like wonderful realm of we can have anything we want, except for it doesn't stay. Every couple of years we have to fight for it again and again and again. So I appreciate everything that your organization does in helping us keep our ground and allow us to be the free state of Florida. So thank you all for all your efforts and for leading all of the efforts that are going on in the state. So, but I really want to share with you guys what we at Florida Citizens Alliance are doing. So, one thing, as Barbara was saying, we are advocates. We are up in Tallahassee, and we put biblical worldview as a priority on our agenda. So when we go to Tallahassee, we're not only advocating for education and for parental rights, but we are advocating for our biblical worldview to be front and center in our agenda and in our policies. So we have a great team that goes up to Tallahassee, and they really spend the entire session building relationships and having those conversations, going to the committees and being able to advocate for our families and for us Floridians. So we want to hear from organizations like yours to be able to tell us what's important to you, what is your priorities, and how we can assist that, because we know we're in alignment. Second thing we do, we build micro schools. So a lot of people are standing around going, oh my gosh, our public school system is such a mess and it's destroyed. Is there any point of rebuilding it? Is there any point of putting it back together? And honestly, maybe, but we have a solution. We have school choice here in Florida. And because we have school choice, we're open to being able to create our new educational pathway for our students. And I say this is the time for the church to stand up. So we're going around and we are opening up micro schools. And the great thing about it is that we go into our communities and we find founders. We find people who have a passion to teach their own kids, or maybe even just grab a couple kids in the neighborhood and provide education for them and to help support the families in this. So we don't have an agenda whenever we walk in. Somebody says, hey, I want to start a school. I don't know exactly what to do, how to get it done, but I have this vision. we come in and we help them make that vision become a reality. And we allow it to be the vision of that community, of that founder. And we come in, we bring our ambassadors in, and we walk you from conception all the way through planning, filing your taxes, even structuring out your employee handbooks and all of your forms. What is it going to look like, down to how many pencils you're going to need to order. We help every aspect of the business, and then we come in and we help you with the fun with raising the funds to get it off the ground, help you structure it out to see what would be a best fit for your community. And then whenever you open, we stay in contact with you and we help update you every single year on what it is that the laws have changed, how to come in compliance with that. If you're going to take advantage of our scholarships through your program, we want to help make sure that you are always in alignment with what the law is setting in. So we're right now we're really focused on building out as many schools as we can, because over the last 5 years, Florida has seen a 50% increase of homeschoolers, 50% increase of kids leaving the public school system and looking for an alternative. So we're desperately needing to open facilities. And I don't know about everybody else's area, but in our area here in Seminole County and in Orange County, the schools, they are already built out for the next year. They're sitting here going, we are at full capacity. We have waitlisted people already, and we haven't even hit spring. So we need more schools. So if you know anybody, or if you have a passion to build a school or even a micro school, which we can do inside of any church facility, and we only need a couple days a week, but we can build out a school for you, and we want to come along and help you establish that so that we can support these kids. It's time to grow this generation to not only be minded in their civics, but in their life skills. We have micro schools in our state right now that we have currently opened that are specializing in enrichments. They're specializing in life, building up life skills. They're specializing in biblical citizenship. They're creating new avenues and new ways of supporting families and their educational paths with their kids. And that's the most exciting part for me, is that I get to see all this creativity come, and I get to watch all of these kids get served in such unique ways that really does show why the public system does not work for everybody. And I'm not saying it's bad. Not everybody thinks it's bad. You know, we've had a lot of kids that have graduated and gone on to be quite successful through the public school system, but we know that it's not a good fit for everybody. And that's where we come in, is we have the solution. We're going to create these new educational pathways. We're going to change the landscape of education, and we're going to remove the bureaucracy, right? We're going to let the communities run their schools. We're going to let the communities govern their schools, and we're going to let the parents be front and center making the decisions in their children's lives. They don't just need a seat at the table, they're the ones building the tables. So that is our place, and that's what we want to make sure that becomes our new normal in Florida, is that you see all these parents making their educational decisions for their families, and then we are providing those solutions for them every turn. And, you know, I think when I'm going around right now and I'm meeting all these new candidates that are running for office and running for governor and running for state house, they feel the buzz of all these parents that are coming into the scholarship or coming into a school choice type of situation. And they know how exciting it is. And then they go, I know that we have people who are going outside of the state, and they're going, what is happening when the education in Florida? Why are your numbers climbing? Why is the success rate in Florida growing? And it's because we do have different pathways. So I'm just really proud to be able to serve Florida. And I'm very proud to be able to be working with Florida Citizens Alliance, who puts biblical values at the
Yeah.
front and center of everything we do.
I'd love to figure out how some communication so that we can put the word out to our members statewide so we can funnel those individuals in their communities who might be interested to your program so they can see if they're eligible and good fit. Because as you said, there's a desire and a need, but I think that a lot of citizens don't know where to go or how to even get started, which is why having this, initial town hall is so valuable for our members. And I did put it out to our national organization as well. So there might be some members outside of Florida that we can maybe start the fire in other states as well.
I would love that. Wouldn't it be great to see this just grow across the country? And
Yep.
all of a sudden, we see this civic change within our youth that they're no longer burning down buildings because they don't get their way, but they're getting involved and they're working towards solutions instead of making more problems. It'd be amazing. But one, I will create a flyer and have it sent to you so that you can let people know that we're here to support. Everybody qualifies that can fit into our program. Everybody does because there's no school or no concept of a school that is wrong. I have had people from doing special needs schools all the way to just doing schools where they're literally going around to different areas and learning plumbing, electrical, baking, and all these different skills, and just kind of giving kids experience in all these different facets to be able to see what their passions are. So there's no wrong way to educate. There's only a wrong way to not educate. So we want to make sure when we are saying to anybody, we're here to help, they understand we are here to help. You do not even have to have the answers of what it looks like. That's one of the things I specialize in is I'm in strategy. So I build out business plans for you. And I will say, what is it that you want to achieve? And I'll help you construct and really create the framework of what's going to work for your school. And it can, again, be in a one room in a church. And most churches are empty during the day, 5 days a week. So we'll take that space and we'll use it. And it'll be great too, because then it becomes a part of that ministry. Does anybody? Yes, I see Mariana has a question.
Actually, it's me.
Hi, Antonio.
Hi. So question, do you have any of this literature in Spanish? Because um, it's great, and I know the passion that you have for doing this for so many groups, but the Hispanic community, this is going to be something where a lot of the Hispanic families do not know of this program. And if we could get any information in Spanish, that'll be critical in
Yeah.
trying to set up what we're trying to do here with the Hispanic Association is empowering more Hispanic families to seek these educational options. Now, just to give you a little bit of context where I come from, when I was in Connecticut, we had a this is where the whole movement started, to be honest with you, because they had a law in Connecticut where the desegregation was taken out, and that's where school choice really began in Hartford, Connecticut. So basically, they had the city of Hartford, and then they had all the surrounding schools, and then you could pick a school if you could pick a school to go to if your school wasn't working. The program was called Project Concern. But they did a very good job in educating the Hispanic community because that's what a lot of people were. It is Hispanic and Black communities where we sent that information to the parents and they were able to get the information to those parents. So again, if we could get that information in Spanish, that'll be wonderful. That's my only
We
concern.
we can also help translate anything that in both English and Spanish that we put out to the members. So I know we still have a lot to cover. So I'm gonna hold questions for the last 15 minutes, but thank you for your input, Antonio. I know you
You're
have a lot of
welcome.
experience in this area, so thank you.
But I do want to touch base. So we have a lot of schools in Miami, and we do have a Hispanic population down there that we are serving. And because of that, we've opened up our printing to being in Spanish. So you will see we currently, I don't know if you guys can see my little binder here, but we currently have what is a micro school type information. And with this, we do print these out in Spanish, and we can always make that available to you, especially if you have an event or if you have a member who is maybe reaching out and saying, "Hey, I saw you did something with micro schools. Do you have a way for us to connect to that person?" just let us know this person speaks Spanish and they need to have somebody there that does, and we'll make sure that they're paired with the right ambassador. And that's what we want to do at Florida Citizens Alliance, is we want to make sure that whenever we are putting our ambassadors, that we're putting them to support who we think is going to be the best support for each community. And sometimes you're going to end up with me, and sometimes you're going to end up with another one of our ambassadors. But we have them throughout the state. So if we have situations where people need to be more hands-on, we have ambassadors covering from one end to the other. But we absolutely have it available so that we can serve all of our communities, not just English-speaking ones. I hope that helps. But I want to cover a little bit. I know I gave you some slides, if you don't mind sharing one of those, so that I can show them what we were doing last year. We've had a lot of successes, even in a tough legislative year. This last year, or this last session, was a very tough session for us here in Florida. We
Can you
didn't
see
get
my
a lot.
screen?
There it is.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a lot of legislation passed in Florida. Only less than 10% of our bills that were filed were passed. But with those, Florida Citizens Alliance was able to be I will say we were very present, and we really had built some really great relationships, and we were able to defeat a couple bills that would conflict with a biblical worldview or with our educational values. So if you look here on this, you can see in Florida's microschool movement in 2023, we had 40 counties that were launched, 20 microschools, and we have served over 500 students. That means we've created over 500 students a new educational pathway, and I'm very proud of that. And this year we're tracked to double that, and I'm extremely excited because here in my county, we're opening up 4 new micro schools, and we're on track for this next fall, and then we're on track for 2 more in the following fall. So very exciting times for us. That legislatively, we had some good wins. We were able to pass some protections in the parental rights side and be able to strengthen some of our school choice laws and regulations. We were able to defeat some of those as well. We had a bill that wanted to really come in and regulate our school choice and add all these extra loops for our scholarship families to jump through. And because we were able to advocate for those families, we were able to defeat that bill. But we have a Kids First teams. Our Kids First teams are very exciting because they can be specific to each chapter, or even, to each county, or we can even have them into each school. And what that does is it opens up the pipelines for the members to be able to come together and create action plans and to create advocacy that then they bring to us and we're able to take up to Tallahassee. But we were able to be involved in 50 different legislator meetings. We are being asked to come to tables that nobody even knows about. So all these backroom dealings that we don't like to have, they're not backroom anymore, because Florida Citizens Alliance is there, and we are all about transparency. So we are publicizing everything that we see. So we really like that we have been invited into the room on creating a lot of our parental rights and our school choice and our education freedom. But it is really important to us that the entire community that is involved with Florida Citizens Alliance is aware of everything that's happening. So very good wins for us in 2025. And we are a donor-based organization. So this is our ministry for us. We go in and open up these schools as a ministry. That's pretty exciting times for us. But it's also really exciting to grow our donorship and bring in different people that come in to support us. And that's what these alignments are really for, is so that we can come together and really build up what our communities need. Thank you. And then there it is. This is so our legislative agenda. So when we go to Tallahassee, one of the really important things that we have been able to build out is our opposition as well as our support. When we go to Tallahassee, our legislators are now coming to us and saying, we would really like to have your support in this, because they know the power that brings. And they also know that we are the voices of so many parents that are building alternative school education pathways. So we had a majority of our legislation agenda items filed this year. So we create a policy, we create an agenda, and we create our priorities. When we take them up to Tallahassee, because of those relationships we built, we are heard. We are given a lot of time with each legislator, with our leadership, and we're able to create what our priorities are and give it to them so that it becomes their priorities. So we were very successful this session, even though it wasn't a very successful session year for Florida. It was a very successful session for Florida Citizens Alliance and for the people in Florida who want to have educational freedoms. Now, on this, you'll see our COO, Ryan Kennedy. Ryan Kennedy is a newly promoted COO. A lot of people know Keith Flaw and Pastor Rick Stevens. They are our founders. Well, they stepped into our board this last fall. Actually, it was more of the winter, and promoted Ryan Kennedy to be our COO, and he is on fire. So I'm very excited about his leadership and his partnership that he's able to build. He's one of the greatest voices that we have in Tallahassee for parent rights. So I'm very excited he's on our team. But I want to go down to our microschooling. Okay, there it is. So our microschooling is empowering families, empowering churches, and transforming education. So we're building so much momentum over the next couple of years. I know because our educational landscape is changing. As I'm on the campaign trail and I'm having conversations with different candidates, they see it and they're tapping into it and they're going, there's something new going on in Florida. And we're very excited to be able to step in the leadership and help navigate this through the next couple of years because it's changing. We have a huge rise. I know in Seminole County, where I am, we went from 65,000 kids in the public school system, and now we're at like 48,000. So it's changing, and it's changing for the best. Orange County is closing 7 public schools, but at the same time, we're opening up micro schools. So let's keep the trajectory growing and keep the families engaged, but let's really equip the families and the churches because that's how we're going to change this culture. So we do have 9 active ambassadors throughout the state. You'll meet Christy, who is who's in charge of our ambassadors. She is actually one of the best recruiters that we have in the state of Florida all around because of her passion for microschooling. She's been doing the microschool, building out microschools for the last 3 years with Florida Citizens Alliance. And I'm very excited to say her knowledge and skills are being shared amongst all of us. So it's very exciting for us. I can't tell you, this is the best time to be a part of the microschool initiative because of how much it is answering that question that every family has had over the last 20 years. And that's like, well, how can I do it better? This isn't working for my kid. This is failing our system. Our culture is changing. How can we do it better? Well, we can. So I go down. This is some of our micro schools, Kuros Academy. You'll see this list grow quite a bit this year as we open up all these other schools, but you'll notice that they're all unique because it is about touching into the founder's dream and building out what the church, the community, and the members need. So we don't come in and say, oh, everything's Florida Citizens Alliance, your school's going to be Florida Citizens Alliance. We can just come in and aid and help establish. So that's our role.
That's amazing. I think, yeah, we need to do a lot more to promote this resource to those because, it's a very complex to form any kind of entity, much less a school. So your level of growth has been really great over the last just launching a couple of years ago.
Yes. And some of our system, the way that our system works is we partner with a national Herzog Foundation, which if you haven't heard them, it's a beautiful foundation that really just pours into the education of America. But we partner with them. We created 8 modules to train people on step by step how to make everything really a time consistent and constructive time to build out their micro school. And again, I've had people call me and say, okay, I don't know what to do. I just know I need to do something. And I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Mhm.
what you need, what you feel. Even my own church, they had originally said, "Hey, we're going to do a high school micro school 2 days a week." And now they're like, "Hey, we want to go elementary. We feel that's going to serve our community better." So we're just even halfway through everything, we're flipping it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of your legislation as well that you've been
Mhm.
advocating. Um, I was really, really curious about the AI in education, that in that initiative and how that worked and what you were able to accomplish through that.
So we actually had an AI bill, and in the AI bill, it was putting some guardrails in place. It unfortunately did not pass the House. Actually, it wasn't even heard in the House. It passed Senate, but we weren't able to get it in the House. There was a stall. We have a
Mhm.
new, as you guys know, we're getting a new governor soon. So I think our House members, our House Speaker, really wanted to leave that door open for the next governor to come in and set up the guardrails for that. Plus, there's a lot of talk about the national side of things. You know, you had the White House had released an AI guardrails or AI direction that they want to take with it, which would limit our state ability to step into AI. So we want to go ahead and advocate for our state rights, of course,
Mhm.
because we're statesmen, and anybody in Florida knows that that's how we are so successful when we lead in this country, is we're statesmen and we believe in our sovereignty. So we are advocating for our sovereignty as well as our guardrails for our AI in education. AI is already live. It's already in the schools. It's already happening throughout this state. We have some schools setting up magnet programs to teach AI, which I want to say I am in support of because we know this is going to be important for kids to learn. But the unguarded, the complete open forum for kids to jump into AI and using AI bots, not to mention the data. So let me tell you a couple things that we're going to be working in our session and that we're currently working with the candidates that are running for governor. So one of the guardrails that we are asking for and that we will be advocating for is that the data that they collect on our children, people don't realize that they're creating these social profiles online of your children. So what we're coming in and saying is that data belongs to the parents. And if we want it deleted, it needs to be deleted immediately. If we want it, that we do not want the schools to be able to hold that data or to sell that data. In this state, the state makes millions of dollars selling our students' data every single year. And it's very dangerous if you think about it, because now you have algorithms that are following your kids throughout life and throughout their educational pathways. So they're going to go into their educational career in college with these already established social credit scores, if you ask me, these already established data credit scores before they're even walking in the door. We don't want that. We want that data to be removed. We want that to belong to the parents, and we want the schools not to be able to harness any kind of data. Number two, we want time limits. If they are using AI, we want the time limits in place. They can only use it for how long? We're still consulting with our Surgeon General and having conversations with him about what is a safe amount of time for kids to be using AI. Number three, we want to have an age restriction. Kids under the age of 13 do not understand the emotional connection that AI emulates. They don't know it's an emulation. So
Mhm.
they are creating and building these unhealthy relationships with a computer. But these computers, they are the way that they work, the way the AI works, it's like a brain. So it
Mhm.
really picks up the behaviors and the mannerisms of the user, and it creates a special, like, really form to that person's character in creating the bots and the different communications. Well, kids are seeing that, and if you have somebody who has a mental health crisis, guess what that AI is going to have with them? And we've
Mhm.
seen some really bad results of that. In fact, we have a mother here in Orange County, Megan Garcia, whose son was using an AI bot for months before she even realized it was happening. This AI bot had groomed, and I am going to say groomed, her child to suicide. So she lost her son to the AI bot. The last message that she saw on his AI was, "Come home to me, baby," from the AI bot. Does that sound
Mhm.
like it's safe for kids? Because I don't think so. So we're
Mm-hmm.
asking for that to be restricted completely. No bots assigned to each child, and age restrictions. In the state of Florida, we really led in creating 13 and below weren't allowed to be on social media. We set that law even before the federal got involved in it because we knew how important our children's minds are and how important it was to protect them. And the internet is not a place that we can protect our kids. We do not have the guardrails set up on that. And honestly, I've been working in that space for years, and I can tell you, we have been advocating in DC and in Tallahassee to put guardrails, even more guardrails in place to protect and the
Mm-hmm.
consequences for the predators on there. But it would be safer to put your kid in downtown Miami at 10 o'clock at night and say, find your way home, than it would be
Mm-hmm.
to let them alone on the internet. But again, this is why we want to have age restrictions in this education space.
Mm-hmm.
Then we want to make sure that there's plagiarism laws associated with using AI. Kids should
Mm-hmm.
not be able to use AI to do their homework or to answer their question or do their reports or their anything. There should be consequences to that. And there should be a way to track that. And then, one of the things that I think is really important is we need teachers. We don't need AI. We need teachers to be sitting with our kids and having the human connection, because whenever we're sending our kids off to be educated, it's not about just learning from a book. It's about having a human connection and being able
Mm-hmm.
to establish behaviors, read social cues. There is so much learning going on in their minds. So we don't want our kids learning from the computers. And I know everybody saw the flashy first lady walking out with a computer talking about how this is the future of education. It is not. Not in
Mm-hmm.
Florida. We want our kids to remain children, and we do not want them to be guinea pigs to be experimented on. And right now, AI is an experiment. And using it in education, it's an experiment. Sure, some
Mm-hmm.
kids will be successful in the AI space, but let's do it so that it's formed so that they're learning AI in a structured setting that is completely regulated, and they have the guardrails in place to protect their innocence and preserve their innocence for their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we work very passionately at Florida Citizens Alliance, is to make sure that those priorities are
Yeah.
being heard. And as we go into next session, I can tell you we've already found the people who are going to be writing our bills and the people who are going to be sponsoring our bills. And we've already had the conversations with the leadership, and we're having conversations with the guys running for the governor every single day. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to them. And then we are setting up around our communities all throughout Florida AI symposiums. So on May
Ah.
26th, if you're in the Orlando area, May 26th, we will be having an AI symposium. This will be a time we are bringing in renowned experts. We are bringing in our state experts, and we are bringing in people who have experience in this field. And they're going to be talking about the dangers in AI, how to navigate AI, and how to set up those guardrails and what they need to look like. And we have some of the greatest speakers come in and share all this knowledge. So if you can come out, if you can be a part of it, we'd be so happy to be able to bring this to all communities throughout Florida.
I would love for us to be a community partner with you on that and
I think so.
bring that to all of our members. As I'm listening to what you're doing legislatively, it's amazing. But I think we have to educate the parents as well, because we can put all these legislations in place, but if parents aren't engaged to really supervise and what's going on and be aware of the dangers, then we can pass legislation and restrictions as much as you want. And um so yeah, we really need to educate parents as well. Um
One of our biggest hurdles that we have legislatively, and this is going to
uh-huh.
sound insane because people don't even understand how our system has totally taken over our parental rights. But one of the
Mhm.
hardest hurdles that we have is the opt in. We want them to put an opt in. So you, as a parent, have to say, yes, I want my child to do it. Yes, I want this. And you can set that up through your school. We want that to be the law. Currently,
Mhm.
the reason why that's hard is because we all know bureaucracy. It's a lot more paperwork if they have to wait for parents to sign in. They would
Right.
much rather have the parents just opt out because they're
Mhm.
hoping nobody notices. But we're going to go in for the opt in, and we are really pushing for that. And we have a good coalition of other advocates who are helping us with that.
I'm curious if because I was interested in I work also in data and in the mental health realm. You know, we have and I mean everyone here should probably anyone who's ever been to a doctor signs HIPAA forms and based you know, so every your data is belongs to the patient and cannot be used for certain, you know, uh, research or anything without consent. And I'm wondering if your guidelines are using similar for, excuse me, the HIPAA guidelines, how they've structured that for the data, I think would be great because it's such a restrictive system.
It
Uh,
That is such a great point out. That is something that I think that we try really hard to make it that strict. But again, we're over a hurdle. So it will be so great to have your experience in the HIPAA side of things and your help in joining with us to help advocate for this to be a priority because you don't know how bad the data collection in this state is. We actually have pirates come in and hack our school systems and hold it ransom in different counties.
hmm
And it's insane because nobody knows it's happening, but they're spending
hmm
millions of dollars paying for our systems to not be sold. And it's ridiculous. They shouldn't have
Yeah.
access to that.
Yeah. And all the programs, all the apps that are ones that are not, you know, established companies that we trust, you know, they're just mining this data and contact information that they just resell and resell. So that's why we're so bombarded with communications and emails, and it's, you know, and our kids are being bombarded as well. And it's just going to continue to build. So we have to have limits on those companies as well as, you know, how they can use the data and have serious consequences because without consequences, legislation is futile, right?
It is, especially in education. You literally have to sue them to make them follow the law.
Yep. Yeah.
Can you imagine as a citizens driving down the road? I'm sorry, you're going to have to sue me in order for me to make that speed limit be a
Yeah.
restriction to me.
Yeah.
I've never understood how our system gets away with that, but you're right. It is the consequence side of it.
Yeah. Um, so we're almost at in the last quarter of our hour here. So I just wanted to if you maybe open up to some questions
That'd be
unless
great.
you have some more legislation that you wanted to cover. Um, let me stop sharing so I can actually see everybody. Um, does anyone have any questions on any of the micro school or how to become an ambassador or how to get involved um in kind of advocating for legislation here that the Florida Citizens Alliance is working on? Feel free, you can raise your hand or if you want to just unmute yourself and ask a question. I think I have someone in the chat. Oh, no. Um, oh,
Okay.
Antonio has another question. Um,
I have a question.
oh, hi,
Um,
Mariana.
Hello. We live in Orange County. You know about those schools that are closing. Do you think there's any way that we could eventually be able to use the space of those schools, the schools that are going to be closing?
That is such a good question. You know what? I don't think a lot of people think about it, but yeah, actually, I started immediately researching how we can get these buildings, how we can turn these buildings into micro schools and maybe even multiple micro schools. But here in Florida, we have our charter school initiative, where public charter schools actually are allowed to retain those buildings and create charter school programs through them, which is exciting because it is an alternative educational pathway. They will govern themselves. They will not be run through the school board.
Right.
They will elect their own boards. But so it is a different public school system, and it is set up more for it to be community minded. So they actually get preference in those buildings. But if the buildings decide to sell, then we could go in and buy the buildings, just like any other organization or foundation or even company that wants to go in and buy those buildings. But as far as the state resources and utilizing it as a state resource, that would have to be a charter school, public school system. And we work in the other side of things where we really want to see that the schooling and education belongs to the communities and not to the public school system anymore.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Yeah.
I was
we're
going to
trying
ask,
to
how
have
is a
it through the
charter
church.
school and a micro school? What's the difference?
So a charter school is very much like a public school system or like a brick and mortar system. So it does the 5 days, and they have a whole different government. So they'll elect a board. That board will be answerable to their members, and their stakeholders would be the members, the people who are attending and sending their kids there. And then they will hire their staff. Their staff will have the same certification that we require at a public school. And then they are still required to do state testing as they do in a public school. But they do not have to follow the same curriculum. They can have different curriculums, but it is a little bit more rigorous because it is a state program. So they don't have the flexibility of a micro school. Now, a micro school, you can literally open a micro school where you're learning about cooking, music, all the arts, and only cover the arts and allow the core curriculum to be taught at home if the family chooses. So we have some micro schools that are set up just to build out the trades. Then we have some that are set up just to build out the enrichments. Then we have some that are set up to be more of like they come in and they get their course lessons taught to them a couple times a week, and then they go home. But the way that the micro school is different is that you have about 10, maybe 12 families that come together and they educate together, where a charter system is the public school system. The kids are just opting into that. And that ends up being more like a monopoly too. We have a school here in Seminole County that is on a 3-year wait list, and it is very, very popular because of the way that it is governed. Nobody really wants to deal with the school board whenever you are choosing that direction, because we know that 89% of our funds are going to their administration. So this allows the school to get the funds and it really to use it to build up the educational environment for the kids. So
Are
they
there
typically have
credits?
more arts.
Do those credits from the micro schools count towards any, like, I guess, anything K through
Diplomas.
12 or other trades or certifications like that?
So we have different things. So for their accreditation, when we are going through micro schools, we do have a micro school that does 5 days. They do have accreditation through the state, but typically we're more like a service for the homeschooling families and people who are choosing more of a smaller school system. So our goal is to see advancement in the kids' growth and learning, not to hit a certificate. So you can. Yeah, so you can issue in the state of Florida, parents are allowed to issue the diplomas to their children. And we also have different programs like the FPEA, which they will issue a diploma to your child as well. You can do state testing. They can still do the SATs. They can still do all of the qualifications in order to be able to obtain a diploma and to have that accredited. But what we have found is that the colleges are now accepting homeschoolers at a higher rate than they are public school students. So these system is working and it's working for the benefit. And you can see when your kids are applying for, I have 5 that homeschool, and you can see whenever they're applying for different programs and going into it, there is this openness to homeschoolers because they have the deductive reasoning, the cognitive reactions to things, and they're able to problem solve. So you don't have to set with a homeschool kid as much as somebody who's been dependent on the system to tell them what to think.
Martha Mesa has a question that she put in the chat, and I can ask for you, Martha, but if she was wondering what is involved in being an ambassador and how we, the RNHA Florida and our membership, how can we get more involved in the legislative side of things? And I think that's a great question, because I think, there might be opportunities for us to partner on some legislative days where we participate with what you're doing up in Tallahassee as well, to educate our members because it's a process. So it's just, just participating on one piece of legislation or issues can be a huge learning experience for our members who are so active in the grassroots level.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And I am so glad that you guys are partnering with us. This is one of the most exciting partnerships that we've brought into Florida Citizens Alliance because we do need people involved in the legislative efforts. We do call to actions throughout the year. Your membership now becomes part of our army. We get to build this coalition of like-minded organizations coming together to say, look at this force that we're bringing with us. We have this incredible team of people who are coming. So sometimes that's going to be, we're going to pick up the phone and say, hey, we're going to go up to committees. You guys want to come? We're going to put out call to actions that say, hey, if you guys are in the area, please go speak to your representatives, your delegates. If you are able to go, this is a priority for us, especially if you have people who are in their committees. Education committee is a big one for us. Parental rights side of things, everything is underneath the educational system. If you have somebody in your district where you live, even if it's your representative or your senator that is on one of those committees, you're going to become our best friends. Because we're going to call you constantly and be like, just go knock on his office, go have lunch with him, go have a coffee. You'll find legislatively, and I've been doing advocacy and legislation for 20 years, but you will find the best way to build a policy and to have influence in a policy is to sit down and have a cup of coffee with people. And once you put a personal story and you tell them why this is personally important to you, they now have to walk around with that knowledge. And so they become your champion without even realizing that's what's happening. And so we need as many people as possible to come on our team and build out our legislative agendas, because not only do we want to hear from you as a community to say, hey, this is really important to us, but we want to be able to call you and say, hey, we need to put some boots on the ground right now, or hey, we need to have some call to actions. And you just call around to everybody you know and say, hey, this is why this is important. They're voting on this right now. This is going through this committee. Please send them an email. So this is a really exciting collaboration for us. Thank you. Barbara, you're muted.
Sorry, I do that a lot. Yeah, this is very exciting. My wheels are turning, as and thinking of opportunities and how we can support each other. And I think that definitely, for us to start pulling out some of these call to actions, um, really would be a good first step. Let me see, what was this? Sonia, did you have a question? Because I can't see it. I saw that you wrote something. I don't know if it's in the chat or the Q&A. Sonia is actually we came on as one of our new advisors. She's an attorney. She's our general counsel. And we're going to start putting out what I call impacto legislativo. So on different legislative issues, um, to bring attention and educate our members, because sometimes there's all this legislation. It's we're being bombarded with it in the news. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. If we pass it, it's going to taking our rights away. And I was like, I think it's our responsibility to educate our members on what some of that legislation really means and what the impact is going to be, and what the status is. So, especially when it's something controversial, the media loves to build it up even more and pick it up. But so my role is or our role at the RNHA Florida is to educate and impact how explain this legislation to our members, and then partnering with your legislative actions and what you're doing on education, I think would be a great opportunity for us all to build together. And I think what we're going to be doing, rolling out in the near future for the RNHA Florida is also on our website and social media, establishing community partners like yourself at the Florida Leadership Alliance, Florida Citizens Alliance, and other organizations that are like-minded and that we can support each other and promote each other because we can't do it by ourselves. We
No.
there's a certain role that RNHA Florida can serve our community, but there's completely different role that you are already equipped and have and network that and by becoming community partners together, we can expand our reach exponentially and be more effective. In Spanish, like I like to say juntos ganamos. So together we win. Like, and being
Amen.
siloed and separating is not serving anybody. So um does anyone else have any other questions? Because we're reaching the end of the hour and I don't want to hog the conversation. Um, but I have tons of questions. If Let's see. Was there any other legislation? I really hit on that AI because it fascinated me, and I use a lot of AI. But is there other legislation that you were working on that we should um, keep an eye out for in the next session, or that you're working on that we can discuss with our members?
Yeah, actually, we are, because we are parental rights, we are working towards a parental rights in medical. So it is a big priority for us, for our parents to be able to choose their
Hmm.
children's medical procedures, as well as really abstaining from having to declare our religion as a reason why we don't participate in medical procedures. So we have several countries that don't have any type of mandates with anything to do with our medical procedures. And we feel like this is a good time for Florida to lead in this side of things. We've especially with RFK in place, we have learned a lot in the last few years that supports having parents make the ultimate decisions on what fits their family's needs. So that's going to be something that we're going to be advocating up in Tallahassee for, as well as we're going to be working towards an expansion of school choice. Right now, we have a cap of 6% increases on our personal education plan scholarship. And we have a lot of families who are not being served that need to be served. And
Hmm.
while we support and we love that there's no income cap for that, you can make any amount of money and be able to apply for the scholarship, because we truly do believe the money should follow your child.
Right.
But right now we're just not able to expand that at a fast enough rate. So we really want them to create a system that really fits the needs more than just a 6% increase, maybe even looking at a
Hmm.
10% increase. So
Wow.
that's going to be
Um,
some big priorities for us.
Yeah, prior the parental rights in regards to medical, that is something I don't know why I hadn't even thought. Obviously we've seen the issues nationwide of not having those guardrails in
Yeah.
place in certain communities, and it's very dangerous. And again, as I was saying, there are HIPAA laws. But I think we need to empower our parents as in regards. You'd think it's one of those issues that you would think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But as the world evolves and now we actually have to name and write out these rights that I think
Isn't that
in
crazy?
generations past were just common sense. Is of course this is a parental right, but now we have to put it into legislation and write it all down and make sure everyone understands that
Yes,
you're
yes, yes.
that parents are the ultimate guardians of their children, not the schools, not the doctors, not social media.
Yes.
Um,
Remember,
and
you used to have to get a doctor's note if your kid missed school. I'm
yeah,
against that because the parent's the authority. So I'm like,
right.
nope, that comes from mom. But this is part of that fixed moral law being lost in our country. We
Hmm.
before, as you said, we used to have established standards of what was acceptable for families and what was the parental role. But our fixed moral law has been decreasing each year and each decade
Hmm.
for sure. So every generation, they're kind of removing what established a lot of our laws with that fixed
Hmm.
moral law. And so we're going to have to come in and we're going to have to define what that looks like. But we're also going to
Hmm.
have to prevent and really push back against people messing with our constitution on that side too.
Right. No, absolutely. And one of our Martha Mesa, who's in Broward, one of our delegates in Broward, mentioned, maybe we would love to be able to host some of these AI events in other counties as well. So for anyone who can't make it to the Orlando event or have some virtual events that we can record and then put out that information from your symposium in May.
Yeah,
So
so we have hosted several throughout the state. The
mhm,
one in May, we're hoping to televise. We're working with
wonderful.
some different partners to be able to do that. We will be recording it, so either way, we will have it available on our website, and we'll roll it out to our partners as
Oh,
well.
wonderful. So
So,
we can share it too.
yeah,
Great.
exactly, because it's all about educating and empowering, right?
hmm
I think
Um,
Antonio has another question.
yes, I was going to say, Antonio, want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hey, I got one additional question. So for these schools, are you finding that a lot of students that are disadvantaged taking part of these schools, like people don't necessarily have a lot of money, are they getting the same resources or even better resources than the public school counterparts? Because like I know there's kids out there that don't have computers, and I have a good connection with Andre Class with Christian Tech ministries that provide computers for students that need them. So, is there something in place to be able to get that help to the kids that need them?
I would love to partner with Andre. I actually saw him the other day and I thought I meant to ask him about it. But one of the things is it is micro school initiatives that have to run the computers. So it's not a disadvantage and it's not an advantage. So in our public school, they have a standard where our micro schools are creating environments. So we're not looking for standards in those micro school environments, but they might bring in some additional maybe some different training and different resources with the computer knowledge. In those situations, if they are going to be training on computers or bringing that in there, that'd be a good time to partner with like Andre's business because it is a Christian organization and because it would not be a taxpayer burden to provide that. But in the way that the Florida state law is people who are recipients of the scholarship, they do not have the ability to buy computers or tablets with that scholarship. That's different than the public school system because public school system, almost every kid who walks in the door and they get a tablet. So
hmm
it's to me, I have a lot of families in my micro school world who are screen free because they have the smaller or maybe they're younger kids are screen free. And then once you hit the high school ages, that's when the training and the trade training comes in, and that's where the need for those type of you know different computers, tablets, things come into play. And during
hmm
that time, I would love to be able to say, here's a resource, reach out to them, let's see if they can support your micro school.
Yeah, I'm the senior board member for Christian Tech, so that would be a wonderful connection for any student that really needs that once they get to that high school age, and I think that would be an excellent partnership to be able to build that with him.
hmm
Well, it's a good thing I
Um,
know you all.
yeah. I have one last question because we're right at the 8 o'clock point.
Sure.
But do you need to have a brick and mortar school to be a micro school? So if you wanted
No.
to do virtual training on whatever topic, you can be a virtual school as well.
Well, we micro schools are coming alongside of a family. They're coming alongside of a community and they're creating what it is. So if it is going to be a virtual school and they come in and they have assistants and somebody there to support them through that, that's what that micro school is going to look like. But there is no brick and mortar. We do have some schools that follow the classical education model and they
hmm
even use the classical educational curriculum. And those are
hmm
great. And that's what fit their community. The micro is the amount of kids that are coming in. So our
Oh, okay.
micro initiative, it really is a hybrid type of education system because it's smaller classrooms, but it's smaller groups, smaller families.
hmm
Everything's very intimate. The people who are taking care of the school and the people who are participating in the school.
hmm And what about adult education?
We have not dabbed into the adult education side of things at Florida Citizens Alliance, but we
Interesting.
do have partnerships up through the DOE that has adult educational platforms and different resources for adult education when necessary. So I would go onto the DOE, and they have so
Mhm.
much that they've built out there.
Well, this has been really educational, informative for me, and I hope
Oh,
for our members. And as I said, we're recording, and so we will upload this to the YouTube, but also share with any of our members. I think definitely we're gonna work with you on community partnership for your AI summit, and I think for hopefully some legislation in the next session. And I think some of our members might be interested in getting more information on how on the micro schools and becoming an ambassador in their
that would
counties
be
and hosting some
fantastic.
events. So we'll definitely continue this wonderful relationship. I'm so happy that we connected. And this is just really a great, partnership in enhancing, what, RNHA Florida can do legislatively and to protect and help our children, in the state of Florida. So thank you for all the work you do, and your passion. It's really evident. And so, I'm very grateful, and Florida should be really grateful, our children, for the advocacy that you're putting out. So we look forward
Thank
to
you.
more,
Thank you.
of
Thank
this.
you.
And if
Yes.
there's any other legislation in the future that you want to talk to our members about, feel free to contact me and we can have another Tele-Town Hall or put out information on social media or articles. I'm going to start doing our newsletter monthly soon as well. So thank you
Thank
again
you.
so much, Valerie.
Thank you.
And
And
I'm so glad we
please,
finally
please
get to
reach
meet
out.
each other.
Yes. Reach out to me if you have any legislative questions. Our
Hmm.
team is ready to help our communities. So if you do have something that you're noticing or that you're saying this needs to be a legislative,
Hmm.
please call me. Call Florida Citizens Alliance. Just go on our website. You can leave us a
Hmm.
message. We'll call you back. We want to make whatever your priorities are, they're going to become our priorities. So thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Wonderful. All right.
Thank
Thank you, everyone, for participating. And I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know and we can feed them over to Valerie and their team as well. So have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening.
Have a good night, guys.
You
Thank you
too.
so much.
Bye bye.
Okay.